Hello, India. My name is Sundar Bharadwaj. I'm a professor of marketing at the University of Georgia. I also serve as a visiting faculty at the Indian School of Business. I do research in a variety of areas, but primarily in the area of looking at marketing and its impact on firm performance. A part of this research that I'm doing today and that I'll be presenting to this audience is work that I've done with the colleagues Omar Rodriguez Villa, Neil Morgan, Shubha Mitra, and Peter Shalis. We also partnered with MMA on this research, and we're thankful for their help. And a part of the research involves talking to over 120 companies, senior marketing and digital managers of the organizations. And that's that research that we'll present right now. So the primary question that this presentation tries to address is looking at the modern marketing organization in terms of what the design looks like given the kind of changes that's going on in this world. So you're seeing a lot more changes in terms of the impact of digital, clearly the impact of mobile becoming the first screen for most consumers. The growth in data in marketing with that comes in the ability to analyze it using machine learning and artificial intelligence. All of these things are fundamentally changing how the organization works and operates, and clearly also driven by changes in consumer behavior with the transition to more digital, and in fact, accelerated by the pandemic as well. So the key issue is how do we change the modern or marketing organization? And this is not a simple task. This is quite challenging simply because, if you look at most organizations, they look like this. So companies have added to their existing structure and functions. They've added a digital team. The core team that probably existed before was a brand team, and perhaps in many organizations, they've also added a content team that's become more critical with social media. In B2B organizations, you probably have a CRM team as well. And with the growth in digital performance marketing teams, some organizations may even have an analytics team, a mobile team as well. But if you step back and look at these different sort of silos of functions, which is what's happening to most organizations, if you try to sort of link them together, we have a world that looks like this. And this is incredibly challenging for managers to sort of work with. And so what we have tried through our research is to try and put some structure around this process to look at how do companies sort of design the modern marketing organization. So the impact of that structure is the underlying tensions that we observe in a lot of organizations and angst. And a lot of folks are looking at this and saying, hey, what's really happening is technology is sort of eating strategy. And so which means that perhaps we need a better balance between technology and strategy. The second issue that sort of erupts in most organizations is the fact that it's so data rich right now that companies have created DMPs. And once they create DMPs, the goal is to sort of link and enable digital and CRM with it. But unfortunately, what happens is most companies are unclear how to leverage it fully. So they built a DMP, invested in it, and then have challenges with sort of leveraging it. And this is fairly common across the different new additions that have come to these organizations. So really, at the bottom of all of this is the challenge on how do we sort of leverage, integrate, and design a marketing organization that capitalizes on all of these functions rather than being sort of separate and equal. So companies keep adding functions without really seeing them together. That's sort of the tension that we observe. So which then leads us to this fundamental question of how do companies really design an organization? Most organizations, the conventional approach is to start off by looking at structure. Structure basically tells you, what should be the reporting relationship, where do we sort of, situate different sort of functions, and at best we go down and say what kind of skills do we sort of need. And that is how most organizations sort of start and continue. What our research indicates is perhaps we need to flip the world around and talking to these managers, the insight that we have is that perhaps marketing organizations need to start with a clear mission as to who they are. What is their fundamental sort of goal? How do they sort of add value to the growth motives of the organization in general? What have they agreed upon with the senior management team? How do we deliver that? And what's the marketing's role in that particular purpose? And once you decide that, you go down and say, what capabilities do we need to deliver on that mission, that value proposition that we have promised as a marketing organization? And from if once we have these two major decisions done, the rest of it in terms of designing where we locate and do we co-situate these capabilities sort of are much simpler. And then eventually you can go towards what kind of design. So really we are flipping the world on its map, and that's what our research sort of indicates. So let me sort of dive into this a little bit deeper, because the mission is sort of a critical function that the marketing organization has to decide. So you need to select your mission, and mission, as we said before, is what is the value proposition of marketing to the organization itself, right? And we believe that this sort of occurs in a couple of different ways. One is adding value towards customers. The other, as you'll see shortly, is adding value to the firm itself. So let's look at these notions of adding value to customers. And there are three different ways in which firms can sort of add value to their customers, right? So one key way that they can add value to the customers is by what we create is what we label as exchange value. This is fundamentally trying to match your core offerings to particular customer needs. So customer needs are varied, and your ability to sort of target sort of large numbers of customer needs with specific offerings that are designed. So if you think in terms of the funnel, this is more towards the bottom half of the funnel. And the other way that companies could add value to customers is by the experience value. Here you move away from the transaction, but look at the whole journey itself and figure out ways in which you can make the journey convenient and enjoyable for customers. And this creates opportunities to create new revenue stream, new opportunities as well. A number of companies are in that pathway. The third approach where we see that companies add value is by creating what we call is basically engagement value. Here, what companies try to do is not just deepen relationship with existing and current and new customers, but also by leveraging the different types of products, the different categories in which a firm can operate, which they can credibly operate across, and which means expanding the meaning of what the brand stands for, and also leveraging communities in practice to deliver this, and increasingly in today's day and world by adding purpose and to your particular sort of offering purpose and to your brands and to your organization itself. And so that sort of seems to be the three major ways in which we see firms add value. So let me provide some exemplars. Take, for example, Chobani, which is a Greek yogurt manufacturer in the US. And they have decided that their primary way in which they're going to add value to customers is through engagement value. So they're going to leverage the meaning and purpose of what Chobani stands for and use that to sort of deliver value to customers. And to the other two aspects of experience exchange value is fairly limited in their focus. So their primary focus is by creating more and more engagement value to sort of customers. And so you can think of these as sort of stacks. And so that their core focus is on the engagement stack. Um, in contrast, if you look at Delta, which is a US airline, their primary way they add value to the customers is by enhancing experience value. Here they're leveraging their mobile app to deliver greater and greater value across the customer's journey. You can sort of track on your app from the time you leave home to get to the airport, all the way to as you navigate through the airport, on flight information, and subsequently on landing, they provide information. So the whole customer journey is without friction. And a lot of times the focus here is on reducing the frictions and challenges that customers sort of face across multi-channel, single channel, and through their journey. And here they're leveraging that and looking for opportunities to develop revenue streams based on reducing these frictions. The other way that we see in terms of creating value is clearly exchange value. Here's an example is Just Fab, which is a women's fashion player in the US. And for them, they look at hundreds and hundreds of customers and see them as unique individual targets. And using data and machine learning and AI technology, which is their analytics, they design specific offerings for each one of these sort of target groups of customers. And here they add value by the fact that they provide very personalized offerings to groups of customers. So these are three different ways in which value can be added to customers, right? On the flip side, firms also add value back to their organization. Marketing organization also adds value to their firm by creating sort of strategic value. Here it's basically guidance on new revenue streams and new revenue opportunities, and how do we leverage marketing innovation to deliver marketing innovation and business models to leverage that. The other area where they can add value to a firm is if you look at marketing in most organizations, there's tremendous confusion in terms of how that function operates. And what we do find is to increasingly, marketing is not an individual function, but really it's a coalition. So given it's a coalition, they need to look at shared frameworks, shared data, shared links that can then get different functions to work together. And many of these functions may not report directly to the CMO, but you need to see them as sort of a network, as a coalition that sort of works together efficiently and effectively and in an agile manner. The third area where you can add value is the ability to generate data from customers. Marketing can leverage sensors from various different touch points with customers and use that data to create deep, rich insights about customers' current and future needs that can then be leveraged with innovative new offerings. So firms can, and fundamentally the marketing organization can fundamentally create value both at the customer end and at the firm end, and together that really becomes the mission of the organization, the decision on where you want to sort of add value. So that creates that opportunity for them to go through and create value. Just for example, here's an organization that we sort of work with, and they decided their mission was going to be build relationships that last. And the way they were going to go through that is by strengthening and focusing on experience, championing a customer-oriented culture within the organization, then driving marketing innovation to sort of deliver on that experience stack, and then energizing the whole team in that direction. So really, if you look at the structure, they double down on experience. They focus the organization on creating the best possible experiences for customers. Exchange and engagement are important, but not as critical as experience. From the internal side of value creation, their focus is primarily on knowledge and to a significant extent on creating operational value to work in a very efficient, very agile manner to build to a relationship. On the strategic value end, they're less focused, at least currently in the first 2 years. That's something that's sort of the responsibility of other functions. So they play sort of more a supporting role there, but they play a leading role in creating knowledge and driving operational value within the firm, right? And so essentially what this enables a company to do is to then, given their clear mission, they could go back and look and saying that given the mission, what sort of capabilities do I need to do this? And that's essentially about assessing the fit of the organization. Right? So we look at this broadly and saying for each type of value at a very broad level, here are 18 different types of capabilities that companies sort of need to enable to happen, right? Through our research, we identify these 18 very broad types of capabilities that are required and which become part of the capabilities that are required to deliver the mission of the organization. And and they're sort of split between 18 on the firm side, 18 on the customer side. And here's where we do a deep dive on these 18 capabilities. And when you do a deep dive, these 18 capabilities have sort of 72 sub capabilities. And our research we've come up with 200 plus items that can go and capture these 72 different capabilities. And an organization can go and measure itself on these capabilities. So, for example, if you look at the blue chart, the blue shaded area is how the organization is currently. So, given their goal set of enhancing experience and creating knowledge and operational value, they know this is where they're currently. And the yellow chart tells them where they really should be in order to deliver those goals of experience, knowledge, and operational value as their primary focus. The gap between where they are and where they should be is their fit. And that tells them where they need to focus, what capabilities they need to build, and make decisions regarding how to structure those capabilities in the sense of, your design strategy, whether you should have them in-house or whether you should outsource them, whether you should let them, cohabit each other. These two functions should sit together or should they sit and far apart. All those decisions sort of follow as a function of identifying. So clearly, the key thing is knowing what your mission is, assessing your fit and your capabilities for that particular mission, which then guides your design of the organization, allows you to know how to design, and then you go through and say, look at instruction insurance, which is discussed, and then what skill sets the organization needs to sort of get there, right? So fundamentally, what we are contending here with our research is that you move from sort of a conventional approach of designing, looking at structure first, and then building. Rather, we are saying arguing first. The firm needs to design its purpose. What's its mission? How does it add value for the organization? Make the decision first. That then helps guides them on the capabilities that are required to enable them to deliver on that mission, and then design the organization built as a coalition as a network to deliver on the mission that it wants, and then designing what skill sets are required to sort of to co-create the eventual goal and mission of the organization. This is a fairly short talk, and I'm sure you have lots of other questions that sort of emerge. And I would recommend that you go to our site, which is marcaps.com/research, where you can get a lot more information on the kind of research that we do. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope this has been useful, and this is going to help you think about your particular organization and your goals. Thank you.